Hey, Stacey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on. Now, you're the host of the Locked On Yankees podcast. Now, people can follow you on both Instagram and Twitter at Locked On Yankees. Simple enough. And of course, your Locked On Yankees videos available on YouTube. So again, once again, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And so, a little background. And you're also a contributing writer for the Locked On this baseball network in general. So, how did you get involved with that group and this maybe the sort of the genesis of the Yankees podcast?
Well, actually, Jesse Spector, I worked with him at Sporting News years ago. He was the original person to start Locked On Yankees 6 years ago. And they brought me over because he needed to leave. And at first, it was actually a website and a podcast. So they had articles and the podcast. Then it just turned into a podcast. And I wasn't even the host at first. I was just putting all the podcasts out while three other people hosted the show. And then within a month, it came down to just me, and I've been doing it solo since July of 2018. I had a co-host for some of the year last year, and then just got a producer this year. And it's so much more comfortable doing it with someone else because talking about the Yankees by yourself for a half hour, as much as I love them, is hard to do.
I'm the same boat. Like, some episodes I just do just me, but I like to have someone on like you as well, just to ping pong off of, or just,
It's so much better that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A book author. So you mentioned before with the Sporting News. I mean, did you have like a journalism background or a broadcasting background?
I actually graduated from college with a broadcasting degree, never did anything about it. I actually worked in TV sales, commercial sales at a rep firm first. Then I was at NBC for nearly 10 years until they laid me off. Then I was at a rep firm again. And after that job, I got sick and had to be home. And I decided to start blogging about baseball. And that turned into blogging even more about baseball and then starting to get paid to blog about baseball. And it kind of evolved into me writing for more and more sites. And I was part of the Hardball Times annual in 2017. I was part of the Baseball Prospectus annual in 2018. I was asked to write in a commemorative Derek Jeter magazine in 2014. That was the first big writing experience of my life, and having, my Greek last name in glossy print, and I got to show it to my dad before he passed away because he was the reason I'm such a rabid Yankee fan, and it just evolved, and now I've been freelancing basically since then.
Gotcha. And was there anyone like this, maybe in broadcasting in general, whether it's Yes Network or just anywhere in general, that kind of influenced you and maybe inspired you to want to do a podcast?
Well, when I went to school way back in the Stone Ages, because I graduated more than 25 years ago, I went to SUNY Oswego because Steve Levy and Linda Cohn from ESPN graduated from there. Because in the 90s, anyone who wanted to be a sportscaster was obsessed with SportsCenter. I would tape every version of it, the 2:30 show, the feel-good show, the ones in the evening, the ones in the morning, and I'd study them. And I did radio at Oswego. I didn't do TV. And basically, ESPN is the reason why I wanted to get into sportscasting to begin with. But again, I went into sales instead. And the writing kind of evolved into being a guest on podcasts. And I didn't expect to become a host of a show. That just happened. But my dad, who has dearly departed, would be so happy to know that my degree is finally paying off and I'm actually doing what I went to school for.
I'm kind of the same boat. Like, I did sports communications at Fordham, but then after I got it, same thing. As soon as I got out, I went into sales, like totally didn't use my degree. But yeah, here eventually, so it's all good.
Right.
So you mentioned as a young girl. I mean, I guess you're a baseball fan back then, but were you like a real big baseball fan, or it was something that kind of grew as you started to get more involved in like journalism and sports broadcast?
I was the firstborn, so I was the one. My dad. It's kind of funny growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. I had girly things and I played with dolls, but I also had boy things. So my dad would get me, one of my first toys I remember having was a Peanuts pinball machine that I got when I was 2 that was baseball themed. It was all baseball gloves that covered the pinball and everything. So I watched sports with my dad as much as I could when I was little. I sat on his lap. We watched everything from baseball to bowling for dollars. And I just really got into sports really young. And for some reason, I gravitated toward baseball. That became the it sport for me. I watch everything, but baseball is really it. But yeah, it's because I was the firstborn.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned before your producer Steve. It's like, when did you start working with him? Like, did you know him just from anywhere previously?
It's funny. He worked with us for Locked On Angels last year in the season before that. And then he got a job with Scranton. So he was the B radio guy for Scranton Wilkes Bar for the Yankees. So he decided to come back to Locked On. He didn't want to be a full-time host. And he said, I would love to work with Stacey and work on Locked On Yankees. So we did know each other, not that well, but we did a couple of crossovers and everything. And I think we have a pretty good rapport. And he's been working with me for the past 2 weeks. And so far, it's been really great.
Yeah, I just saw your most recent video, talk about the Rizzo injury, which we'll get into. And yeah, pretty cool. And funny enough, about 2 years ago, I actually the name escapes me, but the Locked On Orioles host, actually, I had him on my show just doing a little ALE scouting.
Connor. Yeah.
Yeah, Connor. There you go. So he was on the show about a couple of years ago. And I think at the time, I don't know if there was like a video Locked On Yankees podcast, because I would like to have that person. So, glad you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, we started doing video during the 2021 season. I think it was like July or August. We started in the middle of the season moving over to video, because the first few seasons was just audio, which is a little easier to do, because video, you kind of have to worry about what your face looks like. I unfortunately have a very expressive face, and the Locked On Network likes to make fun of me for that, because one time they decided to promo my show and they took screenshots of me making funny faces and tweeted them out. So that's how they were trying to get people to watch my show.
It makes it a little comedy there. And I'm actually happy for Connor, because now the Baltimore Orioles looks like they're on the rise a little bit, just because at the time I spoke to them, they were like on like a 15-year lull. So
right.
As you mentioned before, you just had your recent video out, and again, Yankees first couple of weeks of spring training, everything's nice and rosy, and now over this past week they've been bitten by the injury bug. Of all these injuries, Rondon, Rizzo, Beta, which one concerns you the most, or these just over, maybe Yankees being a little over precautionary, but just because it's spring training?
I think they're being over precautionary because it's spring training. The Bader thing, I always get worried when I hear about obliques, because they're such a tricky injury to have. And, you kind of have to let it be for a while, and you can't really let the guy do anything because of where it is on the body. Rodon, I wasn't that worried about him, mainly because they said it's something that he dealt with last year. And as long as it's not connected to the UCL, he should be okay. And then I think they said today that Rizzo's fine. He just needed to rest a couple of days. But as I said on my show, I've had back issues since college, and that's basically what you have to do. You just have to let yourself rest for a few days. And then, because if you push it just even a little bit, you'll be set back a few days or even a week.
Yeah. And you remember, the 2022 season, like Boone had to sit Rizzo down a lot, mainly in July and August, like 3 days here, 2 days here with the back. So, and like you pointed out in your latest episode, he still cranked out like 30 plus home runs, which is impressive. But
right.
Yeah, I just have a feeling like he's gonna have to have some planned days off, just like they kind of do now in the NBA, this with that back. But yeah, I agree with you 1,000% with the oblique. I mean, of all the injuries, I kind of mentioned my most recent podcast, that's the one bothers me most, especially with the swing. And we remember Judge like 2 or 3 years ago, his oblique, it almost like never healed. So
yeah,
I would hate that for Bader, just a local New York guy. Center field, he seemed like excitable. He was like the only guy that really showed up in the playoffs last season. For him to like miss a chunk of the season or kind of be hurt all the way, it would really be a shame.
Yeah. I really liked Bader. He's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch his footwork in center field and see someone who's made to play center field. It's just a lot of fun watching him defensively. And yeah, I would like for this to be one of these one and done injuries, and then we don't have to hear about it again, and he'll be fine for the rest of the season, hopefully.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to him at the top of the lineup. He's not like Ricky Henderson, but he does steal bases. He has a lot of passion. He pumps his fist. Sometimes the Yankees some of them are kind of comatose. He kind of really gives them a good shot in the arm. And especially with these new rules now, he would probably have more opportunities to steal bases. So just hope to get him back as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, the new rules are, I'm actually enjoying the faster games.
Yeah, I was going to ask you by towards the end, but maybe right now, if you want to just give a recap, what do you think about all these different rules? You like them? You don't like them? You think they help baseball? They hurt baseball? What do you feel about it?
I like the pitch clock, because there are some guys who did take entirely too long. I was at a 4-hour, 9-inning Yankees Red Sox game like 11 years ago, because Josh Beckett took forever and a day between pitches. And, Sunday night ESPN games were pains in the butt to go to anyway. And to sit there and just watch him loll around the mound was so annoying. And as soon as that rule came out, he was the first person I thought of. I know there are other guys that take a really long time, but I thought of him. I was like, wow, he really would not like this rule at all. The bigger bases, I haven't really seen anything happen with them yet. It's just funny to see the size difference, but I'm hoping it does help some of the guys steal some bases. The shift ban, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like guys should learn how to hit the other way. I feel like a ban is too much. Maybe a limit, but an outright ban seems kind of silly to me because these are grown men who've played baseball their entire lives. Just learn how to, I don't know, push bunt to the left side if everyone's on the right side. How hard is that to do? I saw Jason Giambi accidentally do that in person in 2005, and he ended up with a double because no one was on the left side. And then he never did it again. It was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think even Rizzo tried a few this past season. Like he would do that, just kind of golf it down there and like do that more often. But I guess they say, well, I'm paid to do an uppercut swing and try to put it in the second deck. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm okay with most of it. Like I originally thought I would hate the ghost runner a couple of years ago, but I kind of grew accustomed to it. And same thing, like it saves you from like an 18 inning marathon game where I was going to bed like 2, 3 in the morning.
I actually hate the ghost runner. I feel like they should wait until the 12th inning because no games really go to that point. I feel like, it's not that often that you're at an 18-inning game. And I feel like the 10th inning is too soon. Maybe the 12th inning, you put the guy on because you're like, all right, let's end this game already. I feel like one extra inning in is a little too soon for it. And I sometimes joke that about how much I don't like the rule. And I said, even if the Yankees are 10-0 in ghost runner games, I'm still not going to like the rule. I don't know. I feel like it's too soon.
Yeah. The only point I would say about like the rules in general, I don't think it's going to convert new fans. Like all it does is make the game more watchable for people like me and you are watching anyways. But I don't think it's going to convert someone that doesn't like baseball to watch baseball. So,
right.
And I just think it's a little frantic when you're always making new rules every season. It's like you want consistency, when you're always raising your prices, lowering your price, stuff like that. It just looks like it's a bad business, and it's like you look frantic.
Yeah. I feel like the one thing that might be an issue, possibly, I feel like the pitchers might be able to, I don't know how to say this, kind of screw with the batters a little bit just with the pitch clock, because the batters have to be back in the box at a certain point. Because that happened the other day. I can't remember what game it was, where they called a guy out they called strike 2 and strike 3 because he wasn't ready in the box. And I feel like some of the pitchers can kind of work that to their advantage. I also feel like that gives some of the not so great umpires in the league a little more power than they need. And that might turn into something, but we'll see what happens once the regular season starts. That's the only thing that worries me about that, is the umpire's role in that rule, just because of some of the guys that we all know who like to make the games about themselves, and that slightly worries me, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there might have been actually Elvin Andrews with the White Sox with that one. I think because he looked lousy on the second swing, so he kind of walked around a little bit just because he was probably bummed out, and he didn't get back in the box in time. But I actually been surprised that the umpires have been enforcing these rules so much this spring. I mean, I guess that's good, just so they're practicing it. But I figured like they make these rules, but they kind of be very lenient, but they haven't been. They've been really sticklers, especially with the time clock.
Yeah, because Garrett Cole was saying how he was practicing at home with the clock. And he also said, I don't really take that long on the mound anyway. I'm pretty quick with my pitches, but I made sure that I was practicing before I got to spring training. And I was actually surprised also about the umps. But yeah, they're not really showing any leeway at all, which is good because you can't really do that. You have to like push in there, do it, and then make it so by the time the regular season starts, there won't be as many violations.
Yeah, it's a good way just to prep all the players for the season. So just getting back to, I guess, back on the field with the Yankees, obviously, I guess if all things being equal, you have, Josh Donaldson as an opportunity, for third base. Then, of course, at second base there, you have DJ and Gleyber, but of course, DJ has the flexibility to play third base as well. So, I mean, of those three there, what combination you think, Boone will go to more?
Well, the thing about DJ, it's funny. They're trying to turn him into the player that they originally got him to be, because when he came over in 2019, they were expecting him to be like the super utility guy. And, Troy Tulowitzki started opening day 2019. And then all of a sudden, DJ LeMahieu became this guy who was hitting home runs and driving in guys from third or second constantly. And he became this different player away from Coors Field. And it feels like this year they're trying to turn him into the guy that they thought they were getting in 2019, where he could back up third, he could back up second, he can even back up first for Rizzo. So, going back to the Rizzo injury, if he does have to sit out and if there aren't any issues with second or third base, other than Donaldson not being able to hit water if he fell off a boat, DJ could back up Rizzo if he needs to sit out. So, the thing about the Yankees is it's kind of like, they have all these players and they have to plug them into these spots, but it feels a little better knowing that there are some guys who can be the backups and can help out if guys go down. Like, they don't have a situation like 2019 where all those guys went down and they had to bring up guys you never heard of, but everyone did a really good job plugging in those positions. I just don't want to see that happen again. That was a stressful season. So I feel like DJ, I guess he's going to be the super utility guy, right? Yeah. They're going to stick with Donaldson. I mean, the good thing about Donaldson is he still plays a good defense at nearly 38 years old. That was the one thing that saved him last season. He was one of those guys, because, a lot of time in baseball, if you're not hitting, it kind of affects your defense and it makes your whole game just really bad. And that actually didn't happen with Donaldson. And I'm just hoping, I'm not expecting a lot from him, but just better than last year. We just need better than last year.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. Like, the Yankees, the left side of the field with the shortstop and third base, much improved than years past. I mean, they used to kick the ball around. So, yeah, I'll give that to Donaldson. At least you can depend on defensively. But, yeah, offensively, though, it's tough to watch there. But, yeah, I think, that's a good point about, especially with Rizzo, if they have to sit him down for a couple games, at least we know DJ can play first and it kind of takes the stress off that foot with him, because if you're at first base, you're not moving around as much as you would second base or third base. So, but I think all things being, in a perfect world, though, I think I'd rather see Donaldson on the bench as much as possible. I'd rather see DJ get the majority of time at third base and Gleyber at second base. I just think that's the best combination there, because DJ could also pick it at third as well. That's
true. Yes, I would agree with that.
So getting to, the Beta injury now opens, at least keeps center field open a little bit to start the season. Now, remember last season with Judge, he liked playing center. I would kind of hold my breath on it, but hey, the guy had a great season, hit 62 home runs. Do you foresee maybe Judge getting some time out there in center to start the season? And if he does, do you like that idea?
I don't see the thing is they got Bader so they don't have to put Judge out in center field. And they do have other guys who can play center field. If it's a situation where Bader's really only going to be out 6 weeks from this point, so he's only going to be out till like the third week in April, they have Estevan Florial, who can be the fourth outfielder. He has experience playing center field. He's not going to hit 300 and he's not going to really be an impact player, but I would rather Judge play right field. If you can just plug in someone else in center field that knows how to play center field, keep Stanton as the DH, Cabrera in left maybe, because I don't trust Hicks right now. I feel really bad for Aaron Hicks, but I mean, he's really not showing that much in spring training either. He's still screwing up in the outfield, and it's kind of like, because you don't want to put him out in center field either, because it's just a recipe for disaster at this point, watching him play.
I remember that game last season against Tampa where Boone had to yank him out because he was butchering balls. I think that's just more, though, because he's not used to left field. I think he'd be okay in center field. I mean, I wouldn't love the idea, but I'd rather have him in center than a left. I think left, he's just like that one he misjudged a couple of weeks ago in spring training. Like, he ran into the stands and the ball was behind. Like, what are you looking at there? So, but in terms of more positive Yankees, the story's really been the youngsters, Volpe, the Martian, Jason Dominguez. I mean, they've kind of make it interesting now. Obviously, you have kind of Fleffer. You settle in a $6 million arbitration with him. We know what he is, but, Volpe's been looking really good. I mean, any shot that they tried to trade IKF would maybe eat the $6 million and designate him for assignment, and maybe Volpe's there to start the season?
No, definitely not. He doesn't have enough experience at AAA. I feel like you'll see Volpe in the majors at some point this year, but unless something disastrous happens between now and March 30th, it's not going to be opening day. And they're keeping IKF because they only have him for this year. And as much as people don't want to see him out there, I don't know what it is. It's so weird. They're really trying to make him into something, even though he's supposed to be the stopgap. And I feel like they should start Peraza at short right now because he has the experience. He plays a better defense than IKF. And we'll see Volpe at some point. I kind of like the idea of Volpe at second, Peraza at short, but then that means Glaber's the odd man out. And when does that happen? Does that happen at the trade deadline? Because if that happens, then you'll see Volpe probably after the trade deadline. I mean, the Yankees have a lot of options, almost too many options at this point. And I think they really want to try to make IKF the super utility guy too, but you have DJ in that position. So it's almost like they have too many things going on and they need to plug all these guys in. And I don't know if any team's going to want IKF. That's the other thing. I mean, he's not bad. Like, he's not like an awful player. He's just not strong at shortstop. I almost feel like he'd be better at third because he looks more comfortable at third. And hitting wise, you don't expect him to hit home runs, but he did all right. What did he bat? Like 261 last year? I mean, that's not terrible compared to the rest of the league.
Home runs. Like, he started off the year really good. Then he get to the second half. Same as like with Jose Trevino. They both started off like pretty darn good, like contact hitting wise. And then as the season, I think they wore out a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you. They have a pull effort. But I like Peraza just in that game 2 of the Houston series. I mean, on the road in a playoff game and defensively didn't bother them at all just for a young guy. But we're definitely overloaded there with infielders. So we'll see how that works out. Hopefully it's not like they all get hurt because then we don't want to hear that either.
Right. Yeah, no, we don't need that to happen. Definitely not. No.
And of course, I think when he got his Gold Glove with Texas, I think it was as a third baseman. So again, if something happens with DJ Donaldson, at least we have the comfort of knowing that IFK is there as available. So look at Garrett Cole. I mean, so far spring training, just a couple of starts, but looks really just much better. It looks like almost mid-season form. Was last season maybe enigma for him, just with the whole accusation with the substance and he can't butter up the balls like he's used to, and maybe he didn't look like himself. This spring, he just looks calm, cool, collective. Kind of looks like the Cole we originally signed for $300 million a couple seasons ago.
Well, yeah, he said in an interview, he said, this is the first regular spring training I've had as a Yankee. He said, because, when I first came over, it was COVID. And then the second year, it was still COVID. And then it was the lockout and it wasn't a regular spring training. And this is the first time that I'm here and there are fans here and I feel more relaxed. And I feel like he finally feels comfortable here. Like, it took him a little bit to get comfortable. I just find him so interesting because as much as we complained about how many home runs he gave up last year, he still led the league in strikeouts. He's so interesting to watch as a pitcher because, there's one game in 2021 against the Rays where he gave up, 7 runs on 8 hits in like 5 innings, but he still struck out 10. It was just such a weird bad pitching line for him. And he's just that kind of a pitcher. And I'll take a 3 ERA. The 3.5 was a little high last year, but I feel like if he's more comfortable this season and, Rodon gets healthy and he's his number 2 and he has Cortez, he has a stronger rotation behind him, I feel like he'll be more relaxed and I feel like I can see a better season from him. He'll always be in the Cy Young conversation. He may not win. He might, be one of those guys who's always a bridesmaid, never a bride, but I feel like we might finally see the Cole that the collective Yankees signed him up to be. Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think he's going to have a great season bounce back. And again, just having Rodon and a full season of Severino definitely takes the pressure off him. So let's get back to your show. So what frequency you plan on like doing new episodes? Is it like every couple of days, every day? Like what timetable you're hoping for?
Oh, it's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday for the season. That's how it works. And then once, let's see, around Christmas time, we go to 3 times a week. And then once spring training starts, we bump back up to 5 days a week. So yeah, they have us do a lot of episodes on Locked On.
Yeah, it's pretty ambitious there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But the network itself has over 300 shows now, all different sports. And it's amazing because I started there within the first, I think, 6 to 9 months of it starting, and to see the growth since 2018 is just been amazing.
All right, and so I'll leave this last guess as we about to wind down. Little funny games of you as a Yankee fan. So I'm going to ask you kind of a bunch of like what if questions, stuff like that. Who would you say is the best mid-season mercenary pickup? Cecil Fielder in 1996 or David Justice in 2000?
You know what? I feel like Justice, just for the get your tokens ready call by Michael Kay.
Yeah, I remember that
in the ALCS
home run off Arthur Rhodes. Yeah, that was. But even Paul O'Neill said that team was kind of, because remember that the 2000 team, they only won like 89 games. It wasn't really a great team. It's just they were kind of beat up, and then Justice kind of gave him a shot in the arm.
They were so beat up. I still don't know. The Sports Illustrated predicted the Mets were going to win that series 4-1, and the opposite happened. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, they really had no business winning that Subway Series.
But that would have been disastrous for us to live with that. So no way, I never want to see another Subway Series again. That one settled it, and that's it. That's the end of it. You're fielding a team, one a first baseman. Now, each player at their best, who would you rather have, Anthony Rizzo or Tino Martinez?
I think Rizzo.
You could go either way. I think Rizzo's probably a little bit better defensively, but Tino's also, I think he was have a better batting average and just, better eye at the plate. But yeah, again, it's one of those situations where
it's kind of a toss up there.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't go either way. And maybe we'll leave this last one on a little negative note. What were the bigger dagger in the heart? The Johnny Damon Grand Slam Game 7 of the ACLS, or the Altuve walk-off home run against Chapman in the 2019 championship game?
2019, because 2004 was a slow motion car crash, and you knew as soon as the Red Sox walked off in Game 4 that something bad was going to happen. I could feel it happening. I knew it. I felt it in my gut. Where 2019, DJ ties the game. You're all like pumped up, like, yeah, oh my God, they tied it up. This is great, blah, blah. And then Altuve walks it off. And it was just like, what the hell just happened? Like, literally, what happened? Like, the Damon Grand Slam, whatever at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite though, because I felt like that 2019 game, like when DJ tied it up, I felt they needed to take the lead there. If they didn't I did not want to go in extra innings. I felt it was a loss. Like the Damon one was just kind of like we knew we were going to lose the game because we started like Kevin Brown, who I don't think he lasted 2 minutes, and then went to Javier Vasquez. But I think just that grand slam early in the game, it's like it's over. And I think to me that one hurt me more, just the fact we were up 3-0 and all that.
I didn't even watch Game 7 of. Once he hit the grand slam, I turned it off, and I was like,
same thing. Like
I can't watch this.
I might have flipped in just to see, like, because sometimes I do that. I flip off and then I flip back, and the Yankees like score a few runs. I always feel like I'm good, like I'm bad luck, so I don't watch.
Yeah,
with the Jim Leyritz home run in '96. Actually, I didn't see half of that because I was just like, 6-0. Let me not watch. And then as soon as I turned it back on, the ball goes right over the thing, and you hear Joe Buck, and we're tied.
Yeah. Yeah, I only knew the Red Sox won because I lived in Inwood in Manhattan in 2004, and I heard all these car horns beeping, and all the Dominicans in my neighborhood were very excited, and I was like, oh, damn it. And I turned the TV on. I saw the Red Sox celebrating, and I turned it off. And I went to work the next day. My boss warned everyone before I got there not to speak to me. So by noon, I'm like, why isn't anyone talking to me? I'm fine. I'm like, I swear I'm fine. It's okay. Because they were like really worried that I was going to be homicidal, but I was fine. I was okay.
Yeah, I used to never say that. Just walk to the stadium. Even though it's right near Yankee Stadium, a lot of the Dominican community there, they all love Big Papi, they love Ramirez, they love Pedro, and they would root for them. But like, you're at the Yankees down the block, so what are you going to do? So, Stacey, I appreciate getting this time. Again, the Locked On podcast, Locked On Yankees Podcast. Follow you on Instagram and Twitter, Locked On Yankees. Of course, check out the videos on YouTube. And again, best of luck on the podcast. Looks great. You're great. And producer Steve was great. And again, hope you guys have a lot of success.
Thank you very much.